Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I am Barry Kumo Ado. In the headlines, David Mark-led opposition coalition applies for registration of new party, the All Democratic Alliance. One injured, 62 houses set ablaze as suspected headers attack Taraba communities. Ghana destroys record $350 million drug bust. And dictator-approved sculpture appears at a National Mall in Washington. Details shortly.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Ahead of the 2027 general elections, the National Opposition Coalition Group, NOCG, comprising major national political figures, has written to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to register its newly formed political party, All Democratic Alliance. The group is chaired by a former Senate President, David Mark. The development followed a meeting of the coalition in Abuja on May 6, 2025. According to a statement by the group dated May 19 and signed by Amechi and Omar Ado as the chairman and secretary of the new platform committee, NPC. The NPC comprises 15 members mandated to form an association to apply to INEC to register a new political party. According to the statement, a series of meetings were held, subcommittees were constituted, and reports were submitted to the committee, leading to the meeting and resolutions. At a meeting of a new platform committee held on Thursday, June 19, 2025, committee approved the formation of an ADA as a political association and the party's logo, slogan, and motto. There have been growing talks about a possible formation of a coalition comprising a former vice president and 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, and a former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, to unseat President Bola Tinubu in the 2027 presidential election. The spokesman of Atiku in May said its principal and other political heavyweights, such as Peter Obi and El-Rufai, were in talks over plans to float a coalition ahead of the 2027 election. The National Secretary of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, Ajibola Bashiru, says President Bola Tinubu's running mate will be decided after the party's convention, which is usually held about 1 year before the general election. In a statement on Friday, Bashiru said that Tinubu enjoyed an overwhelming endorsement from party stakeholders to run for re-election in 2027, but the discussions for the choice of his running mate are not on the table yet. Last Sunday, a meeting of APC Northeast stakeholders in Gombe State ended in chaos after APC Vice Chairman Northeast, Mustafa Saliu, endorsed Tinubu for re-election without mentioning Vice President Kashim Shettima. The mission triggered protests reportedly spearheaded by Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum, who insisted that Shettima be included in the endorsement. An Abuja-based advocacy group, Center for Reform and Public Advocacy, has dragged President Bola Tinubu, Attorney General of the Federation Lateef Fagbemi, and the National Assembly before the Federal High Court in Abuja, challenging their powers to appoint officers for the River State Independent Electoral Commission, RIFSEC. The civil rights group is praying the court to set aside the purported nominations done by the President and approval by the Senate on the grounds that they lacked constitutional powers to appoint officials for the state electoral body. In the suit filed on its behalf by an Abuja-based lawyer, Kalu Agu, the group maintains that it's only the governor of Rivers State who is constitutionally empowered to appoint chairmen and members for the RIFSEC. The plaintiff prayed the court to determine whether President Tinubu has powers to seek approval of the Senate to constitute an electoral committee for Rivers State, It also sought an order of perpetual injunction restraining the AGF, the President, and the National Assembly from taking part in any proceeding for the appointment and approval of nominees for RISIEC. Apart from the AGF, Tinubu, and the National Assembly, the other defendants are Governor of Rivers, Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, and Justice Adolphus Enebili, Chairman of RISIEC. No date has been fixed for hearing of the suit. The Nigerian Armed Forces on Thursday marked 2 years in office of the present leadership with a charge to media not to amplify the voices of those who threaten security and safety of the nation. The charge was issued at an interactive session with media executives in Abuja. Correspondent Chimezie Nzedima covered the session for Signature TV News.
The Chief of Defense Staff, General Musa, told the media chiefs that he was concerned about the terror attacks in Benue State, even as he sympathized with victims of the attacks. General Musa said that the military has resolved to end such threats to citizen security and national stability. General Musa said that as the military worked to earn the trust of the citizen, giving space, sometimes more media attention to information by enemies of the nation, created a narrative that causes a gulf of trust, confidence, and unity of purpose.
We especially grieve with the nation over the tragic losses in Yelwata, Benue State, and other affected areas in both the southern and northern regions of our country. These senseless acts of violence against fellow citizens weigh heavily on our hearts. As always, we remain fully committed to ensuring that justice is served and that peace and stability are restored to all corners of Nigeria. The primary objective of today's engagement is to foster direct interaction with media executives from across the country. This platform allows us to present a clear and factual scorecard of our operations and activities over the past 2 years. More importantly, it provides an opportunity for an open dialogue where the media and members of the public can ask pressing questions and the service chiefs and head of security agencies can respond with sincerity and responsibility. We believe that truth and trust are the cornerstone of national resilience. We remain open in our activities, and we assure you that we are committed to protecting the lives and properties of Nigerians. In today's battles, particularly against terrorism and insurgency, we are not only engaged in physical combat but also fighting a war for the hearts and minds of the people. In this non-kinetic theater, the media is a powerful force. The battle for perception, which entails controlling the narrative and countering misinformation and disinformation, is essential to strategic success. How the media reports on our operations have a significant impact on public perception and morale, both locally and internationally. This is why we seek a professional, objective, and nation-oriented partnership with the media.
Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, commended the service chiefs for reshaping the country's security landscape, citing major gains against terrorism, oil theft, and highway insecurity. Representing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he expressed gratitude to the armed forces and called on the media to amplify military achievements to boost morale and foster unity.
Under the strategic leadership of the Chief of Defense Staff and the service chiefs, we have witnessed not just a containment of these threats, but a visible reclaiming of our national space physically, psychologically, and operationally. Nigerians can now attest with confidence that our highways are significantly more secure than they were a few years ago. Today, we gather to highlight the milestones from the successful degradation of the Boko Haram and ISWAP cells, in the northeast especially, to the decisive operations against bandit enclaves in the northwest and north central. From improved naval patrols that have drastically cut down crude oil theft and the destruction of illegal refineries, to the relentless air interdictions that have disrupted the logistics and mobility of criminal elements.
Also speaking at the event, a representative of the Minister of Defense praised the military's dedication to peace and security, acknowledging the president's support for their welfare. He emphasized that national security is a collective duty and called for transparency, improved communication, and responsible journalism to close the gap between civilians and the military.
Transparency, collaboration, and strategic communication are indispensable tools in our collective effort to secure the nation. The armed forces of Nigeria belong to all Nigerians. Their successes are our collective successes, just as their challenges are of significant concern to us. It is therefore imperative that every Nigerian understand this important symbiotic relationship. National security is not the burden of the military alone. It is a sacrosanct national duty for all citizens. In this regard, consistent and honest communication between the military and media and the populace is essential. However, with the responsibility comes the need for balanced reportage and professionalism, as well as commitment to the national interest above all.
The event underscored the military's ongoing shift toward inclusive, people-driven security strategies and media's role in shaping public perception. Stakeholders emphasized that trust and accurate information are key to tackling insecurity and building national unity. In Abuja, I am Chimizi Izadima for Signature TV.
The Chief Judge of Rivers State, Justice Simeon Amadi, has announced that the annual vacation for judges of the state's High Court will commence on Monday, July 21st, 2025. A statement signed by the Chief Registrar of the Rivers State High Court, David Maduenyi, said the normal court sittings will resume on Wednesday, September 17, 2025. According to the statement, the vacation is in line with Order 49 Rule 4 of the High Court of Rivers State Civil Procedure Rules 2023 as amended. It further stated that all judicial divisions of the High Court will remain closed during the vacation period and that urgent matters filed during the vacation will be handled by vacation judges to be appointed by the Chief Judge. The administrator of Hauda East Local Government Area of Rivers State, Goodluck Iheanacho, has resigned. Iheanacho is one of the administrators appointed by the state sole administrator, Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, for the 23 local government areas of the state. The resignation was contained in a letter dated June 20, 2025, addressed to the state sole administrator. In a letter, Iheanacho indicated his resignation was informed by a desire to return to the private sector. Meanwhile, there are speculations that Iheanacho resigned to pave way for him to contest the forthcoming local government elections in the state, though this has not been verified. Nigerians have continued to react to the visit of President Bola Tinubu to Benue State following the killing of over 200 people in Yelwata community. Public affairs analyst and citizen of Benue State, Nick Agule, who featured on the Signature TV Live program, said it is regrettable that it took the protest by the people for Tinubu to visit the state after 2 years in office, despite reports of previous carnage in the state. Agule said the president should have visited not just Benue, but other crisis-ravaged states like Plateau and Taraba long before now, accusing Nigerian politicians of insensitivity to the plight of the people, except when they are afraid of electoral loss.
We have leaders who don't seem to even understand with the people, who don't feel the pains of the people. We have leaders who are aloof, but this is the kind of leadership that Nigeria has got, and it's at all levels. What we're saying now is not only for the president, because even the governor of Benue State never went to that Yelwata where this thing happened. He only went there the day before Mr. President's visit, which was the Tuesday. So this thing happened in the night of Friday going into Saturday. And the governor on that Saturday rather went to another local government where a former military governor of Benue origin was buried. He didn't go to Yelwata. When he came back from that burial on Saturday, he didn't go to Yelwata. Sunday, he did not go to Yelwata. Monday, he didn't go to Yelwata. It was because the people now poured out to protest on the Sunday that on Tuesday, the president now said the chief of defense staff, the service chiefs, and the inspector general of police to Benue. That is when the governor went to Yelwata first time, Tuesday. And then the next day, Mr. President arrived. So it's terrible that we have leaders whose the only way they hear is protest.
Aguli expressed surprise that the president traveled to Makurdi without getting to Yelwata to see the victims of the attack and faulted Tinubu's interpretation of the attack as a dispute instead of the invasion of a people and a homeland by external aggressors. He noted that even after the president's visits, there are no measures put on ground to forestall future attacks and suggested the use of technology to empower the people as a first line of defense.
So there has to be enough security presence that can withstand an attack of this nature with the people so that they can feel that now the security here is so strong that if these people come back again, the security will destroy them. Has that been the case? Is that the case in Yelwata now or any of the other communities spread all over Nigeria? Answer is no. Government responds to that security threat. So even when the citizens have something like that, their confidence level, their morale is boosted because they believe that, look, our government is only a 999 call away. So if people come to attack us here, we can call our government.
A public policy advocate, Gideon Iyom, has called on President Bola Tinubu to set up a high-powered panel to investigate the root cause of the constant attacks on communities in Benue State. Iyom, featured on Signature TV Breakfast Show, expressed the hope that the views of the president about the situation in the state must have changed after his visit to Benue. He, however, condemned the way the visit was turned into a carnival instead of a condolence visit to the people who are mourning their loved ones and lost property.
People have different models and approaches to issues. If I were in charge to coordinate the visit of the president, I would not have a fanfare. But other people have their own reasons how they do their own things. And if you are in leadership, you should be conscious of how the people you are leading perceive you. Public opinion is very important. It's a very important component, part of leadership. So if you have a feedback of how your people react to certain actions you take and it doesn't resonate well with them, then you know that you haven't acted in place for the people. So I want to think that the people of Benue State, those who coordinated the reception of the president, to rather be a fanfare, they have failed to convey the emotion of the Benue people, the people who felt grieved, who were mourning the killings of their people. They definitely were not represented by that kind of reception.
Iyom noted that the country's security architecture is built on an analog system which is not suitable in the 21st century, said the porous borders of vast and governed land cannot be handled with a central command structure. It called for a community-based security system that would enhance information gathering and investment in training, weapons and deployment.
Security has to be about the people, and if security has to be about the people, it has to come from the people. But the security architecture we have in Nigeria is not from the people, it's from the government. And what do I mean by from the people? Community level security structures must be set up in Nigeria. And that is why I welcome the comments of the Chief of Defense Staff, who say that credible and willing youth should be trained at community level to help facilitate the process of securing their communities. That should be the way forward. And again, training of security personnel as well as security investment in IT infrastructure is very important.
Up ahead, Enugu appoints new forest guard leaders to tackle security threats. Housing Minister backs plan for NUJ FCT Journalist Village in Abuja. Stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
One person has been injured and 62 houses destroyed after suspected headers attacked farming communities in Bali local government area of Taraba State. Reports say the attack followed a dispute about a source of water. The source of water, a pond, is located between Tor Valley and Atongo villages and is a bone of contention between the tea farming communities and Fulani herders. According to the chairman of Valley local government area, Aboki Daudu, peace was breached when a woman went to the pond to fetch water, was confronted by a cow that competed with her for water. She was thereafter allegedly beaten by the herders. The woman raised an alarm over the incident, which prompted reactions from members of our community. Meanwhile, the Taraba state government says it will not tolerate any breach of peace in the form of communal clashes or farmers-herders conflicts to scuttle its peace efforts. The Taraba state government said this when its delegation visited the affected area to provide succor in the form of non-food items and solicited for peaceful coexistence among feuding groups. Zakiba, the leader of the chief community, received a delegation led by Xavier Noko, who is also the Taraba State Commissioner for Special Duties and Humanitarian Affairs. 13 persons, mostly children and the elderly, were killed and houses burnt in Juan and Manja communities in Bokus and Mangu local government areas of Plateau State by suspected herdsmen. A deadly attack on Juan in the Tango district of Bokus local government area occurred on Thursday night with 10 persons killed and some others sustaining serious injuries. In Manja, Chafem Shivdon of Mangu local government area, 3 persons were killed on Thursday evening. They were on the farm, tilling the grounds and tending their farmland when the attackers caught them unawares and killed them. Others escaped with injuries after an intervention of security operatives following a distress call from those who escaped the onslaught. Chairman of Bokus Local Government Council, Amalau Samo, confirmed the sad incident, describing it as barbaric and inhuman. Terrorists in the attack in Manja Chafem Kingdom of Mangu killed 3 persons on a farm with over 20 houses burnt before the intervention of security operatives. The member representing Mangu South in the Plateau State House of Assembly, Matthew Kwakwo, said the terrorists invaded the community and killed 3 people before they were repelled by security men in conjunction with the youths. According to the parliamentarian, the marauders later launched another attack that day, during which they burnt down over 20 houses. Kwakwo said that due to the attackers' large number, the people of the community had to flee for safety, though no casualty was recorded. The Anambra State Police Command has confirmed the killing of 2 persons and the abduction of 2 others during a cult-related shooting in Oko in Orumba North local government area of the state. In a statement on Friday, the Public Relations Officer of the command, Tochukwu Ikenga, said that 2 other persons, including a female, were rescued from the scene of a shooting and are currently receiving treatment in a hospital. Statement added that the Joint Security Force has taken over the scene and police operatives are already acting on information from some eyewitnesses for the possible arrest of the armed hoodlums. Command called for calm, stating that the operatives are already acting on some clues from the scene and leveraging necessary information from eyewitnesses to facilitate the possible arrest of the hoodlums. The Enugu State government has announced the appointment of new leadership for the Enugu State Forest Guard as part of its efforts to strengthen and professionalize forest and environmental security operations across the state. According to a statement issued on Friday by the Secretary to the State Government, Professor Chidebere Onya, Governor Peter Mba approved the appointment of Colonel Dan Didugo, retired, as the chairman of the Enugu State Forest Guard, and Olamitisoji Akimbamiloyo, a retired Deputy Commissioner of Police, as the commander of the Forest Guard. Appointments made on Friday are expected to reposition the Forest Guard into a highly responsive and efficient outfit. Appointment of a chairman of the Forest Guard Board is subject to confirmation by the Enugu State House of Assembly, while the appointment of a commander takes effect immediately. According to the announcement, the office of the commander of the Forest Guard supersedes the previously existing position of State Coordinator, which is now abolished. Appointments may be connected to the resurgence of herdsmen attacks across the state's border communities. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Winke, on Friday said that the Federal Capital Territory Administration has compensated all property owners who were affected by the construction of the Atero Road N5. Winke will disclose this while speaking at the inauguration of the first phase of a newly constructed road, also known as Obafemi Awolowo Way, from Life Camp Junction to Ring Road 3 in Abuja, said they insisted on paying the property owners despite claims that they should not be paid because they are non-indigents. The minister also disclosed that the second phase of the project will be inaugurated before the end of the year. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Dangiwa, has expressed strong support for the proposed FCT-NUJ Journalist Village in Abuja, housing scheme planned by the Federal Capital Territory Council of the Nigerian Union of Journalists. The visit by NUJ-FCT leadership, led by Chairperson Grace Ike, Dangiwa commended journalists for their crucial role in the country and assured them they were included in the government's housing plans. Dangiwa, alongside the Minister of State Yusuf Abdullahi Atta and senior directors of the ministry, referred to journalists as key partners. The minister assured that the government will support the creation of a journalist village through a cooperative housing scheme. However, emphasized that the initial step is for the NUJ to obtain a titled plot of land. In addition, it stated that the plan is part of the President Tinubu's Renewed Hope housing program, which aims to tackle Nigeria's housing shortage, create jobs, and improve the quality of life. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde has reiterated his administration's commitment to building a resilient economy, improving the quality of life for the people, and securing the future for generations to come. The governor said this on Friday while presenting a State of the State address held at the Oyo State House of Assembly Complex, Secretariat, Agodi, Ibadan. According to a statement by Special Advisor Media, Dr. Sulaiman Olariwaju, he noted that through several policies being implemented by the state government and its simple approach to solving complex governance issues, Oyo State has become an investment destination. Makinde stressed that the government's efforts have yielded many positive results, including the designation of the Fashola Agribusiness Industrial Hub as Nigeria's first agricultural transformation center by the African Development Bank. He declared that the administration will not relent on the vision of making Oyo State a regional economic powerhouse, a cultural beacon, and a place where every citizen can thrive is achieved. This was just as the governor addressed the controversy surrounding a planned reconstruction of the Oyo State Government House, explaining that the instability in foreign exchange, among other factors, is responsible for the perceived high cost of the project, which is expected to cover the reconstruction of buildings, roads, and other ancillary facilities at the Government House and adjoining chalets. The Registrar and Chief Executive Officer of the National Business and Technical Examinations Board, NABTEB, Dr. Mohammed Aminu Mohammed, says technical and vocational education and training, TVET, will change Nigeria for good. Mohammed, who spoke with reporters in Minna after supervising ongoing entrance examination for about 30,000 students into technical colleges nationwide, said that the federal government is taking steps to devalue paper qualification and focus on what every Nigerian can do to earn a living. He said the present gap in Nigeria's education system is lack of skills for teeming growing number of graduates. Mohammed was in the Government Technical College, Government Day Science College, and Police Secondary School, Minna, in Niger State for the entrance examination. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, has welcomed the recently announced plan by the Dangote Refinery to distribute petrol and diesel free of charge to marketers across the country. Speaking on Friday, IPMAN's National Publicity Secretary, Chinedu Ukadike, praised businessman Aliko Dangote for seeing a problem in the sector and deciding to tackle it. The announcement was greeted with complaints by all marketers under the auspices of the Petroleum Products Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria, PETROAN. They said it will deprive depot owners, truck operators, and retail outlets who have special deals for the direct delivery of petrol and diesel to large corporations and multinationals. But the IPMAN spokesperson disagreed with this position, saying that as a refinery, Dangote has the right to find a better way to get his products to the marketers. The Dangote refinery on Sunday announced a free distribution of petrol and diesel to marketers, dealers, and other large users across the country, and has procured 4,000 brand new compressed natural gas CNG-powered tankers for the takeoff of the initiative on August 15, 2025. And next is Talk News.
At the close of trading on the Nigerian exchange on Friday, a total of 522.8 million shares exchanged hands in 17,706 deals valued at 19.68 billion naira. This marks a 42% drop in volume and an 11% decline in turnover compared to Thursday's figures. However, the deal actively rose by 3%, signaling sustained investor engagement. The market capitalization remained stable at 74.5 trillion naira, reflecting strong investor confidence despite the lower volume. Out of the 128 listed equities that participated in trading on the stock exchange on Friday, 36 recorded gains while 27 posted losses. Legend Internet emerged as the top gainer, appreciating by 10% to close at 7 naira 92 kobo per share. It was closely followed by Ella Lakes with a 9.9% increase, Champion Breweries up by 9.63%, and Guinea Insurance, which gained 8.7%. On the flip side, Sunu Assurances Nigeria led the losers chart with an 8.62% drop to 4 naira 56 kobo per share, and Northern Nigeria Flour Mills fell by 8%. The NGX All-Share Index ASI gained 277.09 points, that's 0.24%, to close at 118,138.22. This represents a 2.35% gain over the past week, a 7.66% rise over 4 weeks, and a year-to-date appreciation of 14.78%, highlighting the market's consistent upward trajectory. The Nigerian Naira traded at 1,549 Naira 59 kobo per US dollar at the official exchange market, maintaining relative stability under the Central Bank of Nigeria's managed float system. In contrast, the Naira weakened further in the parallel market, with rates ranging between 1,590 Naira and 1,605 Naira to the dollar. The widening gap reflects ongoing demand pressures in the informal forex sector. Market watchers continue to monitor the situation closely as Nigeria works to stabilize its currency amid inflationary and fiscal challenges. That's the update from the Nigerian stock and money market this Saturday morning. I am Tomsinime Natus.
Still to come, Netanyahu says strikes on Iran will last as long as it takes. Romanian president nominates Liberal Party leader Ilie Bologians as PM. Details in a moment.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Ghanaian authorities on Friday destroyed 3.3 tons of cocaine valued at about $350 million, the largest such seizure in the country's history, officials said. The drugs were intercepted in March during a joint operation by the National Intelligence Bureau and the Narcotics Control Commission in Cape Coast, central Ghana. They were found concealed beneath sand in a tipper truck en route from Western Region to Accra. West Africa has long been a transit point for drugs bound for Europe from South America, with large seizures relatively common in the region. This operation, however, stands out for its unprecedented scale in Ghana. Alexander Tuil-Brima, Deputy Director General of NARCOC, said the drugs' high purity range from 50% to 70%. Destruction took place under heavy security and included smaller amounts of other drugs, including heroin and methamphetamine.
So what we saw today, there was an arrest that was made by the NIB NIB, National Investigation Bureau, and Narcotics Control Commission in the central region of Ghana. We arrested a 350 million worth of cocaine. That cocaine that was arrested were those sacks that you saw them packed at the corner there, which we are burning now. the court has given us the fiat to do so. Among others, or those that were also arrested by Narcotics Control Commission, which includes some heroin, which is the weight is about 10.45 kg, cannabis with a weight of 1,934.27 kg, meth, which is 2.0 kg.
My simple message to those who perpetrate or who are involved in this illicit drug business is that it is not fair to the country. We will not stand idly by and allow them to bring in these illicit drugs to destroy our future leaders. From next month, we'll be conducting special operations and we'll go after them. I hope that you cooperate with us, you assist us as much as possible so that I can bring them to the public view, for them to be named and ashamed. This cannot continue in our lovely country. We need peace, security, and a healthy state.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the Weizmann Institute of Science in Rehovot, where an Iranian missile hit earlier in the week caused extensive damage. When asked during the visit how long Israel's attack on Iran will continue, Netanyahu said, as long as it takes.
As long as it takes. That's the answer. As long as it takes, because we face an existential danger, a dual existential danger. One from 20,000 such rockets, 20,000, not one. This is one rocket, one missile. And the other is, of course, atomic bombs in the hands of this mad regime. Iran is the preeminent terrorist regime in the world. It must not, it cannot have nuclear weapons. That is the purpose of Israel's action, to save itself from the Iranian threat of annihilation. But by doing so, we're saving many, many others.
An Iranian missile struck the prestigious Weizmann Institute of Science on the southern periphery of Tel Aviv in the early hours of Sunday, damaging multiple structures and destroying a building containing dozens of laboratories. No one was hurt as the campus was empty overnight. Iran has not said if or why it targeted the Weizmann Institute. While most of the Institute's research is in areas with potential benefits for medicine and scientific knowledge, it also has connections with defense. It announced in October 2024 a collaboration with Israel's largest defense firm, Elbit, on bio-inspired materials for defense applications. Israel began attacking Iran on June 13, saying its longtime enemy was on the verge of developing nuclear weapons. Iran, which says its nuclear program is only for peaceful purposes, retaliated with missile and drone attacks on Israel. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Friday that oil prices had not risen significantly due to the conflict between Iran and Israel, and that there was no need for OPEC Plus group of oil producers to intervene in oil markets. Oil prices have rallied as a week-old air war between Israel and Iran escalated, and uncertainty about potential U.S. involvement kept investors on the edge, with Brent crude futures touching their highest since late January. Putin said the price of oil now stands at around $75 per barrel, while before the conflict escalated, it stood at $65.
We implement all our agreements very strictly in the framework of our work with our friends and partners in the OPEC Plus line. These countries consciously restrict the production and supply of energy resources to the world market. Now, however, according to the existing agreement, production is gradually increasing, but, like I say, it happens gradually in order not to create imbalances in the global market and in order to ensure, as we always say in such cases, a balance between supply and demand, and fair prices that would be comfortable both for producing in consumer countries. We see that the current situation in the Middle East, related to the conflict between Iran and Israel, has led to a certain increase in prices. Well, this growth, in the opinion of our experts, is not significant. Well, what is it now? $75 per barrel, and it was $65. It rose by $10 and is stabilized at this level. We will all see together how the situation unfolds. Putin in shot. So far, no immediate response is required.
Iran is the third largest producer among members of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Hostilities could disrupt its supply of oil and thereby increase prices. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres warned on Friday that expansion of the Israel-Iran conflict could ignite a fire no one can control, and called on parties to conflict and potential parties to the conflict to give peace a chance. Guterres made remarks to the United Nations Security Council as European foreign ministers met their Iranian counterpart on Friday, hoping to test Tehran's readiness to negotiate a new nuclear deal, despite there being scant prospect of Israel ceasing its attacks soon.
There are moments when the choices before us are not just consequential, they are defining. Moments when the direction taken will shape not only the fate of nations, but potentially our collective future. This is such a moment. To the parties to the conflict, the potential parties to the conflict, and to the Security Council as the representative of the international community, I have a simple and clear message. Give peace a chance. The world is watching with growing alarm. We are not drifting toward crisis. We are racing toward it. We are not witnessing isolated incidents. We are on course to potential chaos. The expansion of this conflict could ignite a fire that no one can control. We must not let that happen.
Armed attacks on nuclear facilities should never take place, and could result in radioactive releases with grave consequences within and beyond the boundaries of the state which has been attacked. I therefore, again, call on maximum restraint.
We cannot deny the obvious facts. It is indeed Israel which attacked Iran on the eve of the latest planned round of indirect talks between Washington and Tehran. Thereby, West Jerusalem not only demonstrated blatant disregard for the efforts that have been undertaken to seek a diplomatic solution to issues around the Iranian nuclear program, but also demonstrated contempt for its key ally, the United States, which up until recently had been declaring an intent to reach a compromise solution on this matter.
It is not too late for the government of Iran to do the right thing. President Trump has been clear in recent days that Iran's leadership must completely abandon its nuclear enrichment program and all aspirations of acquiring a nuclear weapon. The Iranian government has long posed a constant menace to the peace and security of its neighbors and the entire world, which this council is charged to maintain.
Well, we have seen diplomatic talks for the last few decades, and look at the results. So, if there will be a genuine effort to dismantle the capabilities of Iran, then that's something we can consider. But it is going to be like another session and debates. That's not going to.
Later in the Security Council session, the head of the UN Nuclear Watchdog Agency warned against attacks on nuclear facilities and called for maximum restraint amid Israel's strikes on Iran. The remains of a missile lay on the ground near Haifa in northern Israel on Friday as Iran launched retaliatory strikes at Israel, activating its air defenses. Iran fired missiles at Beersheba in southern Israel and Haifa in the north, causing damage to an Ottoman-era mosque, according to Foreign Minister Gideon Saar. A Foreign Ministry video also showed extensive damage to a nearby high-rise building that houses a branch of Israel's Interior Ministry. Haifa is home to Israel's busiest seaport and a naval base. Tehran's missile and drone attacks on Friday had used long-range and ultra-heavy missiles against military sites, defense industries, and command and control centers. About 20 missiles were fired in those latest Iranian strike, an Israeli military official said, and at least 2 people were hurt, according to the Israeli Ambulance Service. The Israeli military later said they had struck surface-to-air missile batteries in southwestern Iran as part of efforts to achieve air superiority over the country. Explosions were heard in around southwestern Khuzestan province, and at least 4 people there were killed. Afghanistan is in discussions with Russia to import certain foodstuffs as a conflict between Israel and Iran, one of its largest trading partners, risks cutting off supplies, its agriculture minister told newsmen. As relations between Russia and the Taliban government have been improving, an Afghan delegation is visiting Russia's main economic conference in St. Petersburg this week, meeting Russian agricultural officials. Iran supplies Afghanistan with sugar and vegetable oil, as well as some dairy products, among other commodities. And there is widespread concern the week-old war between Israel and Iran could disrupt trade flows. Russia, the world's largest wheat exporter, and Kazakhstan are the main suppliers of wheat and flour to Afghanistan. Omari said that the country is now seeking wheat rather than flour from Russia. Afghanistan, the top buyer of Russian flour in 2024, increased its whole wheat production by 10% last year to 4.83 million metric tons. The country's total wheat consumption is estimated at 6.8 million metric tons a year. In April, Russia lifted its ban on the Taliban, which it had designated as a terrorist organization for more than 2 decades, paving the way for Moscow to normalize ties with Afghanistan's leadership. Since 2022, Afghanistan has imported gas, oil, and wheat from Russia, making the first major economic deal after the Taliban returned to power, facing international isolation following 20 years of war against US-led forces. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz thanked American soldiers who have taken part in defensive air operations following Israel's attack on Iran in a video showing an address to air defense personnel released on Friday. As Israel and Iran exchange aerial attacks, the U.S. military has helped shoot down Iranian missiles that were headed towards Israel, U.S. officials have confirmed.
I think the whole world is looking astonished at what is happening now, how the state of Israel is defending itself and striking and defending. We have no choice. Everyone understands, as the level of threat is revealed, how necessary it was. We had extraordinary achievements. We eliminated the enemy's top command, deeply damaged components of the nuclear program, broke through an air route to Tehran, located and destroyed about half of the missile launchers, some were minutes before launch, and surprised the enemy even though he was alert.
Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir said the Israeli military had achieved significant operational milestones, including the targeting of sites related to Iran's nuclear program. Roughly half of Iran's missile launchers had been destroyed, Zamir added. At least 222 Mexican nationals have been detained in the United States since a series of immigration raids in Los Angeles and subsequent protests against them started in recent weeks, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said on Friday. Since early June, the Californian city had been a scene of social protest, which have since spread to other parts of the country, following a series of raids carried out by President Donald Trump's administration to detain undocumented immigrants.
Excuse me, yesterday, 55 people were arrested, bringing the total number of arrested Mexicans to 222. Today, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will also hold a press conference because the support system for our fellow citizens at the consulates has been strengthened. This includes providing information, which is what must be done, and explaining all the mechanisms that help us assist our fellow citizens, not only in California but also in other parts of the United States.
Romania's centrist president Nicos Sudan nominated Liberal Party leader Ilie Bolojan as Prime Minister on Friday after weeks of negotiations to form a coalition government that tackles the largest budget deficit in the European Union. Bolojan will continue talks with 4 pro-European parties over cabinet appointments and fiscal measures, and is expected to ask Parliament to give his government its vote of confidence next week. Speaking after the announcement, Bolojan said governing the country would be a great responsibility and that it would not be an easy undertaking. He said he will work to sort out the country's finances, encourage development, and show due respect to the Romanian people.
I appoint Mr. Ilie Bolojan as Prime Minister. I want to thank the parties that will form the government majority for all these weeks of discussions. It is in Romania's interest that the government be supported by a solid majority, and the parties have understood this. It is also in Romania's interest that in the majority that supports the government, the political forces collaborate, and I believe that they will.
French President Emmanuel Macron threw his weight behind plans for a European satellite manufacturing champion on Friday. declaring space the next frontier for competition between world powers. Speaking at the Paris Air Show after France moved to take control of satellite operator Eutelsat, Macron called for a broader European drive from launches to manufacturing and services as he set out a strategy to counter the sprawling rocket-to-telecoms interest of SpaceX owner Elon Musk. Emmanuel Macron also announced the organization of an international space summit to be held in France in early 2026, expressing his desire to protect European sovereignty in space matters.
Because Eutelsat is a very large satellite services company, it has constellations today in both GEO and LEO, i.e. low Earth orbit, and in fact Eutelsat is the only non-American and non-Chinese player with these constellations in low Earth orbit and such an offer. So it's a question of sovereignty for all of us. It's an issue of sovereignty, it's an industrial issue, it's an issue that we support. So yesterday it was announced that the French government would subscribe to a capital increase. But we would also like all the French financial and industrial partners to subscribe up to their current stake. And we also want to mobilize many other European and international partners. The budgetary effort is not uniform, we have to be honest. Spending on space per capita is €200 in the United States, €32 in Europe and €46 in France.
The world's largest aerospace event, usually a showcase for billions of dollars of jetliner orders, has been dominated this year by geopolitical and trade tensions and the lingering effects of a pandemic on supply chains. Europe has struggled for years to keep up with the United States and China in space, despite being the world's largest exporter of satellites. Its two main manufacturers, Airbus and a tie-up between Thales and Italy's Leonardo, have struggled to make money and want to pool those activities. That's the news this hour. I am Barry Kumo Ado. Thank you very much for watching and saying stay with us, as up next is New Day.